Oh, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
How are you all?
yeah, not too bad. How are you, Mick?
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, just I'm back from El Salvador, so still catching up on the sleep. But
Yeah, bit of jet lag coming back, I'd imagine.
yeah, exactly.
And
But
how was El
overall,
Salvador? Tell
delighted
us.
and really, yeah, it was, just every time it just seems to be getting better. I visited 2 years ago, and you now have like more than one, several circular economies. So you just get this feeling that things are improving. That there's some places you can go to, some towns where everything everyone accepts Bitcoin. So you just kind of live really on a Bitcoin standard. It's pretty incredible to witness something like that, as I'm sure there's something similar else be happening where you guys are based. So yeah, so I'm really excited to get started and kind of tell you more and also learn more
Yeah,
about you guys.
yeah. Yeah, first of all,
Absolutely.
thank you for joining in finally. We it's going well with us. In general, I'm just saying because we're looking at some, as we all know in the EU, all the regulations are just making sure we're on the right track. And this
Yeah.
is Lance, so probably you've seen him from the videos
Yeah.
before. Yeah,
Apologies
oh,
for
you,
that looking a bit scruffy today. I just fortunate enough I'd just come down from skiing here, so a little afternoon
Lucky
to
you.
get some fresh air up the
Wonderful.
mountain.
so j
Wonderful.
just Lance,
Wonderful.
just checking, are you on your iPhone or it's the camera on your Mac?
iPhone.
Because it looks like your internet's okay. Good. Okay, good. All
Yep,
right,
it's
so
better.
let's kick off then.
Okay, it's on record.
Awesome.
So yeah, shall I
You go ahead,
shall I
Lance.
just kick off? I'm absolutely
Yeah.
fascinated, Mick, as to what drove you to start the Geyser Fund in the first instance.
Yeah, great question, Lance. So, I was at the time working in I was really playing around with Lightning. I was experimenting with it, running a node, and I was just bewildered at just like the lack of interest. There was a lot of interest in the Bitcoin space, but I was at the time working in the broader crypto, I know, cringe ecosystem. As a Bitcoiner, I was not very happy about that. Um, and I just couldn't believe that people were not looking and witnessing just the power of a secondary layer like Lightning that was, really pure Bitcoin, non-custodial in so many ways. And I was witnessing this kind of Cambrian explosion of all these creators, of all these people doing things on Bitcoin. And, there were people with all sorts of ideas and music ideas, films. There were people like wanting to start off their own little co-working spaces and their like Bitcoin centers. And and I noticed all the Bitcoin, all they were doing was like screenshotting QR codes. If you remember the early days of Lightning, screenshotting their QR codes and putting in their Twitter feed, and people would screenshot them. And sometimes it was even a Lightning invoice per se, so that it could only be one person that scanned it. So it was really early days, and I kind of realized how important it was to have an actual platform where ideas could exist and receive support and show their proof of work, show their reputation. And really, what we decided on in Enocon realized was that we needed a platform, a crowdfunding platform, where Bitcoiners could come together to really support the broader Bitcoin ecosystem and make Bitcoin happen. Because ultimately, as Bitcoiners, we have certain beliefs. We believe, we should be, it's very much individualist focused, but it is ultimately, I believe, um, thanks to the power of coming together as a community, that we can make Bitcoin happen. And the power of the collective is more than the sum of the parts, is my firm belief. And that's really how we decided we saw the power of a tool like Geyser. So then I pitched the idea to my co-founder Stelios, who bought in right away into the idea, and kind of we became partners on this journey. And um, and then we have found some amazing angels that believe in the idea and believe in the vision and the importance of a tool like this one to drive Bitcoin adoption forward. Um, And I would probably say the other missing piece was I would say, like the grants aspect, right? Realizing that grants could be something that could actually power a lot of these projects, and we could funnel some of the funds that we could get from Bitcoin, OGs and Bitcoin whales and Bitcoin companies towards Bitcoin projects. So kind of putting that really kind of brought even more activity, more projects, and kind of initiated the discussion of like really getting Bitcoiners to take action. I think that's also something that really inspired me to build Geysers. The feeling that we don't win by just sitting back and hodling, or at least, that's part of it. But the other big part is is like, because I think part of the problem of the hodl meme, which is great, by the way, because it really taught me how to save. But the problem with it is that it sometimes kind of creates a bit of complicitness, this feeling like it's inevitable, right? And it's all about scarcity. Well, it's really not. It's all about action. It's all about increasing the network of users. It's all about getting people to use Bitcoin in this way or another, and ultimately increasing the number of users, of hodlers and spenders. And Geyser strikes me as one of the few platforms in the Bitcoin space where this, that our brand is so directly linked with this feeling and this idea and this brand of spending and kind of pushing broader adoption of Bitcoin as the means to actually get to the end, which is Bitcoin succeeding. But we don't really succeed until like there is more adoption. We're never really winning until we're actually winning. And a lot of the brands that, and the Bitcoin companies in space are all about like just buy and stack, which is good, really good. It's really important to stack. But it's only part of the picture. We don't really win just by stacking. We win by by coming together as a community, spreading Bitcoin through film, through music, through community centers like yours, through education. Bitcoin is not just a technology; it's a social movement, really. It's essentially a type of moment of enlightenment of what is money, things that we've never been taught, things in school and university. I went to university, did my master's in anthropology and economics, and never really was a question about what is money. It's bizarre. It's completely wrong. And what Bitcoin brings is a type of kind of enlightenment about what is money and its role in civilization. And through that, really, we can change the way that the world and the system works to be much more elegant, much more functional, much more fair. And so, hopefully Geyser, is one of the things that kind of kickstarts this cultural movement around the importance of fair money. And, it all starts with creators like yourselves, though, on the ground, doing the work, educating people, spreading Bitcoin culturally, educationally, getting people to accept Bitcoin so that Bitcoiners can go there and spend. So yeah, this is the kind of the long version of the answer, I guess.
Well, I mean, thank you for that. I mean, it's just been an extraordinary journey. I almost can't believe the pace and the scale now of the guys of not just the fact that and actually another question, I don't know how many sats have actually been contributed, but just the sheer number of ideas that have popped up there. My view is that it helps to make Bitcoin money, the grassroots, peer-to-peer, circular economy, all sorts of goodness I think we all believe will come out of that. And I think particularly important at the moment where we're getting a lot of big corporate stuff going on and strategic reserve talks and the big stuff, but I think it's all about the individuals in the street adopting and ultimately becoming a unit of account. But just to go back a bit, yeah, I'm intrigued as to the size. Approximately how many projects are there, and how many Bitcoin have been contributed so far?
It's a very good question. So actually, I was just looking, and if you go on geyser.fund/Hall of Fame, you'll see the numbers. So there's 80,000 individual kind of unique contributors. Now, most of them maybe are not unique because a lot of people fund anonymously, so you can't really know if an anonymous user has funded more than once. But even if you take the assumption that, let's say, half of the users are anonymous, of which half of them are maybe duplicate, then you would count around 60,000 individual Bitcoiners funding, which is pretty good. That's a lot of people, right?
Wow.
And then you have 40.1 Bitcoin that have been funded through Geyser, which is again pretty amazing. And if you consider that there's, I think, everything on Geyser is on Lightning. So if you consider that there's 500 Bitcoin locked in on Lightning, so there's only 500 Bitcoin that are creating the Lightning network. That's around 8%. So 8% of all activity, basically Geyser routed them as much Bitcoin as 8% of all total Bitcoin that are on Lightning. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then finally,
Wow.
there's around 2,000 projects. I mean, probably a lot of them, remain quite small, but I'd say like around 1,000 solid, projects. Yeah, you can see it on Geyser.fund/Hall of Fame. You can see like the top projects. You can look at them by all time or this month, and it gives you really get a good pulse on what's happening in the Bitcoin space.
Okay, talking about the Hall of Fame, I think it will be really interesting to tell us a story. What's your favorite project you can vividly remember? A project that made big contribution somewhere, and the project you'll be really proud of that happened because of Geyser.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I always get asked this question, and it's always so hard because there's so many different things happening, I would say, I mean, the one that really, I think, stood out the most for me, I would say, is, I'm trying to find it here. I think one of the most interesting ones for me has been the Orange Pill in U.S. Congress. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
Yes.
Tell us.
Right. Yeah, so
Tell
that
us
one,
more.
the story is that, so the story of that one is that Matteo from Orange Pill app one day woke up and just said, if Saifedean joins our app, we're going to buy a book of the Bitcoin standard to all members of Congress. And Saifedean did join the app. And so he was left with like a bill of around $7,000 to have to buy, $15, a $15 book to 500 different members of Congress. So he's like, oh shit. So then I reached out to him and I said, let's crowdfund it on Geyser, let's have the community take part in this thing because it can be really highly impactful. It's really like an advocacy campaign. And so he did, and then within a month he raised, I think, the entire thing. I think he's raised now $7,000. But the most amazing thing was that, they did that entire campaign. They partnered with policy institutes. They went there and they handed out all the books to all the congressmen. And then I think a few months ago, it was Thomas Massey, who was a congressman, came out saying that he read the Bitcoin Standard, and he said that it changed his life and that he thinks we should abolish the Fed, basically. Right? So a U.S. congressman actually changed his mind, not through, shit posting on Twitter, but by simply handing him out the book, handing him out the information. And obviously he was receptive to it. That I know there's no other congressman that has read it. Maybe some have, but it's all about these touch points. And at Geyser, really, we believe that we went through a million approaches, right? There's really a million. There's people, putting up stickers on the walls. There's people doing graffitis. There's people doing, advocacy campaign. There's people doing films. There are people doing community projects. There's people selling and gifting type of hardware devices. So there's so many things that we can do. It's really about taking action. And I think this one example is really, really powerful of how a simple idea can have these sort of ripple effects, and how it all starts at the grassroots level. It all starts with ideas, with the individuals with ideas taking action. Even if it's a political initiative, it's still a grassroots type of campaign that results itself in real impact. So highly impactful, highly inspirational, And I hope that people will kind of gather from it that all they need is really some good ideas. You need to put them out there, and then the Bitcoin community, if these are good ideas, it'll spiral out of control and become reality. And Geyser just makes it really easy, right, for you to do that and take an idea to reality and help the community come together with it, help reputation come out, help show the proof of work, and hopefully it becomes just one other important piece of the mosaic that will lead us towards Bitcoin adoption.
So, one of the reasons we really wanted to talk to you is first, if someone doesn't know, watching this podcast right now, is we've actually been on Geyser, still on Geyser, and we did receive a grant as well. So we've seen the success, and we've seen that it's actually working, and we walked that I would say not that difficult journey, to be honest, because we were listening your advices from Federation of Bitcoin Circle Economies as well. But I was thinking, because I really want other people to look at that podcast just to understand more how they should organize their project on Geyser. Interesting to me actually is, as you said, you have many people that are backing up these projects. You don't know many of them, but are you aware if there's some big names there? You don't have to mention anyone, but these big names in the Bitcoin space are actually on Geyser supporting projects. You don't have to tell anyone's names, but are you aware of some people like that?
That's a very good question. I don't think anyone's asked me that before. I think the simple answer is if you go to geyser.fund and then if you go in Hall of Fame and then you click on contributors, and then you click on all time, you have the list there of all the top contributors on Geyser. And you actually can see how much they funded. Again, all of Geyser is really transparent. And part of the transparency is what I think can help creators get started with their ideas, reach out to them, but also showcase the trust and the proof of work that you get from these donations, and also help to almost like uplift those who are funding, to showcase to the world like that they are having impact, that they are heroes. In fact, we call them heroes. Yes. All of these users, the creators, the contributors, and ambassadors are all heroes that are making Bitcoin adoption happen, through creating projects, funding them, or through becoming ambassadors of the projects.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of specific names, you can see some of them here. There are also, I think, people that are anonymous that I also don't know. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. There's a lot of people I know. There's at least some whales that are dropping a lot of sats, and I've never met them. I just know they exist, and sometimes they just like pour millions of sats towards projects.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
Cool.
Especially there's a few that are particularly interested in circular economies. And they will really drop millions and.
So that's true. I think we were the lucky recipients of a couple of $100 worth of sats, I seem to recall, Nasco. So
quite few guys. Even there was, I think, 4. You're right.
He or she was anonymous, and I think this is the unbelievable thing, and the beauty of the Bitcoin world is there's some whales, or whatever you want to call them, who feel a sense of almost responsibility to keep pushing forward and help the community grow from the grassroots. It's very humbling and very sort of life affirming thing that's going on here.
Yeah, and I would add, just because it's such an important point that you just made, how important they play a role. Right? These people probably came in Bitcoin really early, who knows, 2010, 2011, 2013, and they have a lot of Bitcoin. There's a type of responsibility, I think, that they realize that they have. But the power of it is, it's kind of like, this is how it's meant to be. Like, this is the feeling I'm getting. This is how adoption is meant to happen, is through those early investors that are giving back, because they've been gifted, right? Like Bitcoin is in some way a gift, and they were smart for being early. They were lucky. Whatever you want to say, whatever they were gifted, Bitcoin, and so it makes sense that a part of that would, that they would be happy to give out a part of that towards supporting the Bitcoin network and towards initiatives that are spreading Bitcoin adoption, because ultimately, like, Bitcoin is governed by power law, and the power law is not the narrative of the omega candle, like the Bitcoin will go up forever. It's really if you look at the power law distribution of Bitcoin, it's really correlated directly with the number of users. There's like a super high correlation, and so maybe the narrative of the omega candle and the moon, it's all kind of really self-serving in that it brings people in, but ultimately people have to stay in. And actually, one would even argue that the narrative of spending, of getting people to spend and getting people to accept Bitcoin, is actually more powerful in terms of getting long-term usage than this narrative of belief that Bitcoin will kind of prophetically arise to infinity, at any one point. So I think really just this kind of, as you're in Bitcoin for longer and longer, you realize how important it is to increase the network through new users of the network, and the importance of spending your Bitcoin to support the ecosystem.
Great. So probably many people have asked you that question, and we being there already, when we started the project, when we started publishing information on Geyser, we were looking at the successful project. I think that's tip number one. If you really want to have a successful funded project, you should be looking at other pages, projects that have been funded well, just to understand what kind of content they're pushing there. But what's anything you can share as a secret source from the back end? You've recently launched an email notifications, which I think is great, because this is how you keep up to date everyone who backed up the project. What can you tell to everyone watching that thinks of having a Geyser project there, so they can really follow the steps very shortly?
Yeah. So really good question. What's really important, and is really crafting a transparent kind of, like a really transparent project story that clarifies your vision and the steps to get there. Try to be as detailed as possible. What are the phases? Also have rewards that kind of allow the users to kind of easily get something back for your donation. Donations are really important, but we see that 50% of all the funding happens through rewards. So it's important to have good rewards that will get, contributors something back. And I would say even beyond the features, which are really just meant to be like tools to help you make your campaign successful, what's really important is to spread. So, and through sharing and promoting your project. I know it's really hard for a lot of people. There's a sort of blocker that we all have instinctively to not kind of shill, quote unquote, our projects. But if we really get to the core of what your idea is, and if it is an idea around making Bitcoin successful, you're really shilling Bitcoin, right? Think about it like that. You are working, your project is about making Bitcoin successful and pushing Bitcoin adoption. So naturally, people are going to want to support you. If you're being honest and truthful about what your project is and where the funds are going, you should be really pushing your project as much as possible on social media, because that's where most of the people will find you, and that's where most of the people will fund you from. And that's a first step, right? And get people to follow you on Geyser, get people to fund you on Geyser, even if it's a little bit, even small things is a sign that people care about what you're doing. And as you do that, then you can continue writing posts, getting them reactivated, getting them on your journey. But it's really important to kind of have that in mind, that you're doing this ultimately because this is good for Bitcoin. And so you're completely legitimized to be promoting and pushing your project a lot, because you're doing this for the greater good, really. So add your project Geyser project on your Twitter bio, on your pinned tweet, on your Noster, wherever you want on your website, and just like the more, and just explain to people that the more you get funded, the more work you can do, the more Bitcoiners you're gonna be creating.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, and certainly from our perspective, we found a sense of huge responsibility by receiving these sats and ensuring that they are going direct. We don't touch them; they come to us, and they go straight out as sats back campaigns typically, and so it goes directly to other users actually, or to encourage users with our restaurants and drivers, because we're in the restaurant cycle there. And I think I want to go flip back to your point and emphasize how important it is that if more and more people do these projects, make an effort, it's cumulative. It's in the advertising world that used to be you had to see the name 7 times. It's probably more than that now online, but it all helps. For example, here in the ski resort of Bulgaria, one of them called Bansko, someone's put a B sticker in just about everywhere. As you go through the gate to read your pass, there's a Bitcoin sticker on the back of some of the chairlifts, at all sorts of places, and it's just another way of building awareness. And ultimately, when people are ready, hopefully sooner than later, they join in and get some sats and start spending them as well. Yeah, so really good point, and I think not enough people realise that.
Fascinating, and I'm just curious to hear: are there also enough Bitcoiners that are coming from within Bulgaria or broader, more Europe or the world that are going there to kind of spend as well? Are you seeing that?
May I answer that? Well, we haven't seen that yet coming, although, as we already talked about the transparency, we've been publishing everything on the website, and we have full statistics of how many sats have been spent in the economy. So roughly up until now, it's 11 million sats. I believe we're going to end up pretty soon to 15 million. But to be honest, I think we've made that aware to the local community of Bitcoiners. So I haven't seen or heard anyone yet coming to Bulgaria just to be able to enjoy the variety of restaurants we've got. Because Sofia is, being not that popular tourist destination, but still there are like 15 or 16 restaurants which have different cuisines, and they're like mid-high level. So they're not like kebab on the street or something like that. I think it needs a little bit more time because it's been like 3 or 4 months since we started. So we should be patient. I believe someone will come and they'll enjoy the fact that they can go tonight at that place, the other night at another place, and just spend a long weekend in Sofia. So hopefully that's coming soon, but unfortunately we haven't seen that yet.
And locals spending their sats is exactly right. Like that's the ultimate, I would say, kind of creation of a circular economy is really the locals spending Bitcoin in their local environment. Like that's the ideal, right? If you can get that, that's really the ideal. And then obviously the big bonus, which is really hard to get to, is how do you get more, broader Bitcoin community to come there and experience it. And that's what El Salvador has done, right, so well. Like they've been able to really like market it, as the Bitcoin kind of capital of the world. And so the conferences play a really big role, right? People go there for the conference and then they stay a little longer and then go to these circular economy centers where they can actually go and spend their sats almost everywhere. So that's really a model that is so powerful and so worth thinking about how do you replicate in different ways, because what they've done is that they've paved the way with local merchants accepting Bitcoin. But then what's really important is how do you get them people to actually go there and spend it? Because then eventually, after 2 years of nobody coming to spend, they're just gonna delete the wallet So it's really about thinking. It's really worth spending time to think about that. And if it's a local center and it's like local spending it, that's incredible. That's exactly important, super important. And then you'll see the Bitcoin flowing through the supply chain But you really, yeah, but it is important, the spending part, like how does the sats flow in the system? And it's important for people to accept it so that, people can be receivers of that. But then, where does it all flow from, right? So like we have the whale, as we said before, spending sats towards these centers like you guys, but and maybe like you said, maybe it's the funds that are that you receive go straight to the locals, which is also cool. But what is a mechanism by which this keeps on happening and sats keep flowing within the system? That is, that will be different in different places. But yeah, that's super important to come up.
What's the future features you're working on, Geyser? Anything you can share?
Yeah, I can share something. So one thing that we're really excited by is finally we're going to be integrating credit card payments on Geyser. So it's not just but the cool thing though is that the sender maybe doesn't want to send their sats, right? We understand that. Not ideal, but I understand. So you spend your credit card, and then we use a third party to swap that to Lightning. So the creator receives sats, and the sender sends dollars or
Excellent.
euros or whatever. So I think that can really help unlock even more funding. We're really excited for that. And then another one is I think we've realized. I think there's a lot of different projects on Geyser with all sorts of intents. And so what we really want to do now is like reorganize the page to really speak to all these different use cases and organize the content a little better, improve the discovery, improve the discovery around projects. Where's that also here? Being able to kind of follow not just projects, but like in the entire categories, have sort of ways to visualize the projects on a map to see where this project located, where the sats flowing from and to. And so and all sorts of other small things. And also we're going to be working a lot on grants. I think that's going to be one key focus is really getting more funding through grants and different means. So, but no news on that yet.
Very exciting roadmap, I'm sure, there, Mick. And talking of conferences, you said you've been to El Salvador. What sort of reception how do you promote the Geyser Fund and your work and the platform generally?
It's a good question. So far we've used all sorts of approaches, and honestly, the biggest promoter of our platform are creators like yourselves that are spreading their projects and thereby showing Geyser as a platform. That's definitely the most kind of the truly organic. We don't spend much on marketing or promotion at all. We did things like like social media activity. We do go to some conferences to talk a bit about Geyser and to talk about the projects like yourselves. We do podcast and we try to be as active as possible in this space. I think grants are also really powerful way to get known. Like you guys know, probably I don't know if you guys heard of Geyser first, but just the fact of here's some money, for people that are doing good work. It's a really good promoter and kind of growth engine.
I think it was on Twitter, Lance. I think it's something you shared, by the way.
Yes, I found you on Twitter. I'm sort of been for quite a few years, very, part of that X, I guess we should call it these days, but Twitter goings-ons with the usual big names there, and it works very well. You get to know very cool stuff very, very quickly, and so this was one of the things that came on the radar, Bitcoin Beach grant, and we went from there. And as Nasco said, I think we kicked off in September 2024 last year. But it all was a very smooth process, the whole thing, very, very impressive.
And nowadays, quite popular in Bulgaria, Geyser. believe it or not. And
Wow.
because we did that presentation, if you remember, you were invited, you
Hmm.
popped up for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
which I thank you a lot.
Yeah,
And
of course.
people got to know the Geyser, so they did ask me a lot of questions then. And now we have a new project on Geyser, which is it's about a movie which will talk about the local community.
Wow.
Because we've got few different projects coming up, not just us. But the great thing is we are all connected in one form or another. And
Wow.
I think it actually was ranked pretty well last few days because you already got some funding. So
Yes, like
probably
almost
coming
seven
next,
hundred dollars. That's incredible.
yeah.
Congratulations
So
on that.
yeah, good. So it's all because of the showcasing us as a successful recipient of the grant, a successful project. So people already start thinking different things, how to make even the community better. And
Amazing.
yeah,
Wow. That's incredible. That's great to know. Amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think
yeah,
that's something we need to do more of is really to connect more with these circular economies around the world and let them know that Geyser exists and that they can use it. And in fact, it reminds me of this other, well, we were there in El Salvador, we spoke about Geyser, and then on that day, someone created a project, a local. He's a graffiti artist, and he wanted to create essentially a route within the town of Berlin in El Salvador, a graffiti route, and so create a project and raise again $500 from people living there, from
yeah.
expats and tourists living there, to make that social program happen. It's incredible. So, uh, yeah, absolutely, as you said, it's just so important for these centers to kind of let people know that Bitcoin exists as a tool for saving, but also as a tool for like for receiving donations globally. It's so powerful.
Hodl,
Absolutely.
I would say hodl, donate, and replace.
Right. I'm gonna steal that one. I love it. I love it.
Yes, please do. Yeah, great. I think it was really good content you shared with us today. Um,
Yeah, we're
thank you
trying to
very
get out
much.
as
Yeah,
much content as possible. So we're interested in our own little way to promote our channel or the Order Moon channel on YouTube. And to that end,
yeah,
we'd be very grateful if there's anyone that you think we should have a chat with in the same way we have with yourself, Mick. Anyone who you think people would be interested in hearing from. We'd be very, very interested if you could introduce us to whoever.
I think what would be really cool is for you guys to get in contact and in touch with some other circular economies that are taking place, say in El Salvador, where you could just learn how are they doing things, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and kind of like have a chat maybe like that. And I think
yeah.
hopefully we'll do some of them as well as part of the grants. We'll do these types of workshops where we can learn from each other and kind of grow
Yeah.
together. But yeah, I think just learning. Yeah, I think you probably are doing that already. But yeah, just like learning from what other centers are doing to reach sustainability, to kind of grow, to get more people to spend. I think that's great.
Cool, cool.
Fantastic. Well, I think our time is up. Thank you very, very much for your time, Mick. We super appreciate it, and we hope to see you in person. Will you be at any of the conferences? I don't know what's coming up. BTC Prague, Lugano in the
I think
autumn.
Prague probably. Prague
Mm.
probably. But honestly, I'm just back from El Salvador. I'm just resting at the moment.
I bet you are.
Yeah,
But yeah, guys, thank you so much. It's been an honor. Amazing job you guys are doing. I'm really excited to see how you guys continue growing, continue using Geyser, and like learning together in the process. We're really delighted to be your partners in this journey. So thank you.
Not at all, Mick. And already I think you're a legend, and your partners for getting
yeah.
Geyser going. It's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
thank you.
So well done.
We have a lot of work
Congratulations.
to do. Let's do it though.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay. Cheers
Thank you,
then.
Thanks, Mick.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
Thank
much.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye.